able to join can access the recording via YouTube. So I've started the recording session, okay? I will just go ahead and do a very brief introduction before we start. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to invite our special guest today to come and talk to us. However, just a brief intro about what my HR Storybook live session is all about. So basically, it's a fun learning and storytelling session that uses the concept of speed mentoring and storytelling to enable us share real life authentic stories, career stories especially, with other people. And this is because research has shown that one of the best ways for us to learn is through storytelling. I mean, I remember growing up, a lot of the stories and pros that I learned were from the stories that I heard growing up as a little girl. So in this session, we use the principle of storytelling, like I mentioned earlier, as a tool to learn and teach from the repository, of our speakers and our participants as well. Because storytelling is really a very powerful and beautiful art that helps us to create connection. Sometimes you go through issues in life and you might feel alone, but when you hear the stories of other people, you would feel connected to them, and you can relate and take learnings from them. And from the learnings you take, you also design your own story. So story is a beautiful act that evokes emotion and spur us into action, given the fact that we realize somebody has been through it, and it sort of energizes us to also pull through our own story. So very briefly, I'm just going to share the intro, the interlude for introduction. Then I'll read the profile of our guest speaker today. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So I'll just go ahead and read the profile of our guest speaker today, Bunmi Akano. Bunmi is credited with over 17 years experience, majorly in the aviation industry, to include ground operations management, customer service, office administration, and human resources. She is a graduate from the University of Ibadan with a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology. And after a brief at the Bridge Clinic as a training embryologist, she made a complete change in career path. And for me, I can really relate to that because I also learned about chemistry in school, and I had worked in the laboratory for 1 year. And after 1 year of doing routine medical laboratory,
you knew that no,
I said, no, this was not cut out for me. So I can really relate with you on that. So Bumi's career in HR took a major turn when she got the role of at Greater Washington Limited as the human resources executive. She was eventually to lead the human resources administrative team, as it said, within 3 years of joining JWL. In 2013, I beg your pardon, she was opportune to join Air Peace Limited, which was at that time a startup airline with 11 employees and 1 aircraft. So she grew at Air Peace up until the point where they had over 2,000 employees. Wow, that's a remarkable achievement that you made in your career, Bunmi, and well done for that. So Bunmi has over the years gained experience and expertise in most generalist HR functions. Today, she holds the Senior Professional of Human Resources International Certification from HRCI USA. She's also a member of SHRM and a leading professional associate devoted to human resources management. Bunmi is really passionate about human resources. I mean, you need to hear her talk about her work, and she talks with so much passion. And she seeks to drive organizational success by influencing its leaders, to maintain a strong and positive culture and value-based environment. Currently, Bunmi still believes that leadership really is critical in the achievement of any business goals. She believes in the strengths and potential of every individual and advocates for personal success, which will birth organizational success. She's currently attending the John Maxwell Online University, where she plans to complete her certification in leadership coaching, speaking, and training. Bunmi, I mean, you've done so much for yourself. I read your story. I mean, your story is one of the amazing stories in my HR storybook that I always have to go and read over and over and over again. I mean, all the stories are amazing, but there's something that stood your story out is the fact that you were very open and vulnerable in sharing your story in my storybook. I'd like you to just start by sharing how did it all start for you. I mean, you've had to take on roles that you had no experience in. You've had to take on roles that you had almost no mentor to guide you, but yet you grew through it. What would you say helped you up through all of those periods? And your story also showed a lot of grace, a lot of resilience, motivation, and the can-do spirit. Given the fact that sometimes you go through issues and you're wondering, is it only me? And then what kept you going all through that period? Because definitely your career story is not one that had it really easy all through. I mean, you also still grew to the leadership level, and you still had to push through a couple of hard times. So it'll be nice to hear from you. So you have the floor, Bunmi. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lara, for having me. And just let me know if you're having any problems hearing me
No, I can hear you.
so that
Loud and clear.
Oh, great, fantastic. Okay, because I'm sharing the internet from my phone. Hello, guys. My name is Bunmi. Lara, thank you so much for having me, and well done for the great work that you're doing. Sharing our stories and every other thing that you do for the community. I mean, you're someone that I would say I look up to, even though we may be like peers, so to speak, in the HR profession, but there's so much that you do, even beyond your regular 9 to 5. And I sometimes think that I just wonder, how do you manage everything together? You're a wife, you're a mom. I mean, you have that job, which you don't have to tell me how stressful it is. I already can imagine it. And then you're still having time to give back, to the community, to HR professionals and all professionals with your coaching skills. Amazing, Lara. I admire you so much. Thank you for having me on your platform. And yeah, I hope to have a nice time. Okay, so yes, my career story. I think my career story has been very colorful, honestly. And it's until people get close to me that they sort of start to hear the colorful bits, because I mean, I'm not going to go on social media and share in intricate details, but when I meet little pockets of people, especially when I hear them having challenges, which a lot of the challenges that I hear career professionals having now are things that I have experienced, or I know people that have experienced it. Like I wrote in the book, I was not ready, honestly. Even though I was asking God that I wanted to go into HR and I wanted to head HR for the largest organization, or for a large size organization, I did not prepare myself. So that's the first thing. I didn't prepare. I mean, it was just, oh, I want this thing. Well, I didn't read relevant books. I didn't have any mentor. You guys just started seeing me in the HR scene maybe like 2 years ago, 2019 or late 2018. I was not interacting with anybody, not because I'm a snob or anything. I was so enclosed in the work that I was doing, and because it was a startup and it grew it didn't grow organically. It grew in geometric proportions. It grew in geometric proportions. So there was so much work that I was doing. And when I was taking on that role, I was supposed to have a boss, just like you rightly said, I didn't have HR experience. So I was actually supposed to have a boss, but somehow the negotiations didn't pull through. And then my boss asked me and said, "Oh, is this something you think you can do?" I was scared. I really wanted to say no, because I think for about 1.5 years, I always continued to second guess myself on that job, thinking that I didn't have enough to do, the job. I still felt I needed a boss. I still felt I needed someone that will guide me. Because remember, even though I'd worked for 10 years in corporate Nigeria, when I got that HR job in Airpeace, I just had 1 year core HR experience. There's someone here whose name is Lara Yeku, and it doesn't look like Lara Yeku. So
sorry, I had to share my personalized link. And
okay, I know.
Yeah, so please.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. So, I largely was not prepared for it, and I continued to second guess myself on that job for maybe almost 2 years. Can you imagine? 2 years on the job, and I've done so much. I always still used to think that I needed a boss. I needed somebody had to come and just show me there's something else, Bunmi, that you should be doing that you don't know, and it's not like anybody was complaining. So that was that. Yes, I read some books, but one of the other mistakes I made was I didn't study about leadership enough, and there I was, not only heading HR but leading a HR team of maybe about 4 people for a start, or about 5 people for a start. I know human interactions and all of that. I also was very, very politically unsavvy. I was very, very politically unsavvy. I didn't know anything about politics, and I didn't bother to study that. So those were some of the mistakes that I would say that I made earlier on. The reason why I share my story this openly is because I do really believe that somebody can learn something from what I did wrong, and then that pattern does not repeat itself. I got into a lot of trouble, especially on my last role. Like I said, I was not politically aware. So I tended to speak a lot. I tended to say a lot of what was on my mind. Not studying the room, balancing the people, the personas, the emotion, and zero emotional intelligence. Really horrible. I was a train wreck. So yes, I knew the job, and I was technically sound, and I was delivering, but in the boardroom, I was really a train wreck. When somebody annoyed me there, I would let them know that, "Oh, please, can you keep quiet? You don't talk to me that way." But anyway, to answer your question directly, Lara, what kept me, despite all the challenges I had, was my dream. I think that's what it was. It was my dream. It was my dream to practice HR. It was my dream to lead HR for a large organization. I mean, I asked God to give me this thing about 2 years before I started a lot of problems. And I was supposed to be there, but there were so many demons, caused partly by me. And I mean, we all know how it is working. But I just had to continue one day after the other because I had a dream. I have 3 girls whom I hope that someday, when they're speaking about their mother, or when I teach them about some of the dragons that I've slayed and the things that I have done, we're able to say that with a lot of pride, that this is what my mom has done, and they can sort of look and pick up pieces from my story to, direct them also when they run into troubled waters. So my dream, I would say, to answer your question specifically, really kept me resilient through the tough times that I experienced. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Bunmi. So please, I would like everyone to post their questions in the chat box for Bunmi, and then I'll read it out. Thanks, Bunmi, for that. Now, you mentioned at some point that you were not politically aware. My question is, where did you get to that you realized? Okay, sorry, can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, I said you had mentioned that there was a point in your career that you were not politically aware, right?
Yeah.
So at what point did you come to that realization that you need to be politically aware? And how did you build your PQ,
Yeah.
political quotient as well?
Quotient,
How did you go about it?
Okay, I knew that I was not politically aware when I always just used to get into trouble. I think that the only reason I really survived so long on my role was because I was good at it, you know. So I was good at it. But, but I was good. I was absolutely good at what I do. I am good at what I do. But when it came to human interactions and please can you close the door? Thank you. It was a little bit, it could be a little bit, and there I was, I mean, I'm an HR practitioner. I should actually, the one thing that I should know is psychology, and I didn't know anything about that. So I didn't have good relationships with my stakeholders, Lara. That's it. That was what made me know that I was not politically aware. And my stakeholders were not just the members of the C-suite that I was I was directly reporting to. There were also HODs as well. I mean, with the general employees, I didn't have too much of an issue, but with HODs and with the members of the C-suite, it was not a seamless relationship, you know, that we had. Now, let me explain something. Now, this was not all me. It's not like I'm a difficult person. No, I'm not a difficult person. What it is that when you get to a place of, when you get to work or when you are with people, so some of us have kids, and you can imagine that all your kids are not the same. They don't have the same. It's the same thing in the workplace. So when they have different ambitions, which may not be similar to yours. So sometimes these people may come off as being difficult. And so that was what I was perceiving, that maybe some people were difficult, some people didn't like me, and they didn't, you know, they tried all their best to make me know that, oh, I didn't like you. Now, what I should have done as an emotionally intelligent or politically intelligent head of HR was to study these people, understand what makes them tick, understand their ambitions, and play to the gallery, because I have deliverables. My deliverables are tied to these stakeholders, for God's sake. I was not going to succeed if I didn't win in my relationships with them. So I realized that there were those that I liked. You know, sometimes there's this word that I use, we love whom we love. And yeah, we love whom we love and we can't help it. So sometimes you just get along with people just naturally. You guys eat it up. But with some others, it needs work. It needs attention. Offenses will come. And this is what I tell people. A lot of people just go blindly into the workspace, not paying attention to every other thing that goes on. Apart from that, your HR job. Apart from that, your engineering job. Outside of your accounting job. What else is going on in the organization? You should at least be aware. So what I did, Lara, really to correct that was to work on my relationships, really. So I started having to build trust with people. So I took time out to get to know people. I reached out to the people that I realized were key to my success on that role, because I wasn't going to be successful on that role if I continued on that trajectory. I reached out to them and started building relationships. So somehow when you see me now relating with people, it may look like I have a very thick skin to getting offended, but that's not it. It's just because I learned in a lot of pain. You know, I learned bitter lessons in a lot of pain. So I know how bad things can turn if you are not aware emotionally, if you are not aware politically. I mean, you can actually lose your job. It is that serious, especially depending on the kind of organization that you find yourself in.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bunmi, for sharing that with us. So I have a question here from Udwak. She says, hello, ma'am. At what point did you stop second guessing yourself, and what steps did you take to achieve that?
Yes, so my boss, I went to him and I had been having this conversation with him maybe every 6 months to tell him that he should get me a boss. Can you imagine? So I probably had this conversation with him 3 times within a 2-year period. That, so it was either I was talking about getting a boss or getting HR consultant, which is not even a bad idea. So one day I was speaking to him and then he looked at me and he said, Bunmi, why do you think, I mean, no, he said, I am the one, I know what I see in you. I know the value that I see in you, and I know the reason why I put you in that position. It is time for you to start to believe what I see. And that was it. That was it. It was just this very simple, maybe 1 minute talk, 1 minute thing that he said. He said, Bunmi, it's time for you to start to believe it. So, I mean, I went back and then I was like, okay, really? I mean, I've been here for 2 years and I have done this number of things. By year 2, we probably already had maybe 800 employees. We had opened perhaps about 8 different stations. And I mean, the HR strategy supported the successes of this growth and this development. So I started looking at myself in a different way. And I just now started thinking of what I could do, those areas that I felt that I had shortcomings, because you also need to be able to beam a spotlight on yourself. I tell people something, if you're not able to tell yourself where you are good and where you're not so good, then you're not ready for progress. You must look yourself in the eye and say, okay, you need to improve on so and so in your say performance management, competence, or say in employee engagement, and then you start to take active steps. So that was when I started reading. I bought a little bit of more books. I started reading. I started speaking to people as well. But it didn't take me. It took me maybe another 2 years before I started interacting with HR professionals, and that was simply because it was ignorance, really. That's what it was, Lara. I was just ignorant. I didn't know, I didn't know. I was just there doing my work. Like, I didn't know. Yes, I used to hear about networking and how important networking was, but I was too busy. I don't know how to explain this thing. I was literally just completely subsumed by what I was doing. I couldn't even bring my head up. And also because of some of the battles that I fought, maybe I also started having some confidence issues as well. Even though, yes, I had agreed, I had known that, okay, I was the girl for the job. But, sometimes when you get into murky waters, depending on, sometimes your confidence can be bashed. So I still will second guess myself sometimes. And then I just met 1 or 2 people in this HR community who just thought I was the best thing since toast bread, since sliced bread. And they started, sort of working on my psyche. People are important. Your relationships are really, really important, I must say.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you made a comment around you just getting enveloped in your own world. I think for us women to sometimes we feel overwhelmed, right?
Yes.
You have a family to cater for, you have your responsibilities at work, and making out some time for networking and for other activities might become a bit challenging. So how were you able to pull through that, given the fact that even your role was highly demanding, yet you still made up some time, 2 years ago, thereabout, to come out more and network? What changed for you?
Oh, okay. So my mentor, he told me, he said, I mean, it was a no. This is a no-brainer. You have to get active on the networks that you find yourself. You have to, people need to know that you are there. One of the things he said to me was that, Bunmi, you are brilliant, but nobody knows. Like, nobody knows you. So nobody knows that nobody knows that you are there because you don't come out and show yourself. So it's like a feedback, Lara, it's that feedback mechanism that you get from the environment or from your mentor or from your coach that you need to work on this area. And so because I knew I needed to work on that area, I had to now devote time to it. Now, yes, I still had all the work pressure and all of that. But what it was I just used to schedule time, so I probably would have like a 30 minutes or 1 hour, 2 pockets during the day where I pick my phone and then I go through what people are saying and all of that. And then I now also started saying yes to opportunities. So I remember the very first time somebody said I should come and speak somewhere, I just ran away, like, what do I have to say? I don't know anything. I don't, you know how it is the first time. And when I went to my mentor, he said to me, you must do it. You absolutely must say yes. So everything was say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, So I just started saying yes. And I mean, I think, and it was just one step after the other as well. I'm still an introvert. I always tell people, true to heart, I'm an introvert. But then in this profession, when you're in HR, you can't really be completely completely an introvert. I like my company a lot. I can be alone for a week and I'm fine, you know, but I have realized that my profession is my calling. It's like a mission. And so I need to share myself, you know, to the world.
Yeah, thank you. And like you mentioned, just say yes. I think it's part of the content in your story that if someone gives an opportunity you're not sure of, you say yes and learn how to do it. That's very good. I have a question here from Rita. It reads, did you ever make a mistake that you were summoned?
That I was what?
Summoned, you were summoned.
Many now, plenty. So if someone is like, okay, maybe for the someone that I was summoned would probably be maybe one or two, you know, that I was actually called for a meeting to say, oh, how did this happen and how did this go wrong? So that's, and I'll get to that. But then, you know, in your everyday work, you will make mistakes. Yeah, I only know of one perfect being, you know, and we are not that being. And forget it, I was talking to one of my mentors recently and he was like, Bunmi, see, everything you are saying is just polishing and all of that. You know, that people, you know, there was an opportunity and I was not sure because it was a big opportunity. I wasn't really sure. I was there against like guessing myself. So I wasn't really sure it was something I could do. And he was like, Bunmi, what do you mean? Look at all what you have done. Everybody that is doing this thing or seems to be doing that thing, they don't have two heads. You know, they also, it's not like they learned it. It's not like they knew it before they took the job. So an example, the HR director of maybe Diageo or MTN or something, when that person was installed in that job, probably didn't know what exactly in entirety to do. Maybe the person had a framework, but the person got in there and was still learning.
Hello, Bunmi.
You know, every day. So that's for specific someone.
Hello, Bunmi, your network. Couldn't hear you for a while. Bunmi, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, very well. I can hear you really very well.
Oh, okay. Please go on.
Okay, all right. So it was recruitment and we needed to recruit pilots and somehow I didn't quite, the director of flight operations, I was very new on the job. Maybe I was 3 months or 4 months. And this was the first set of pilots that we needed to recruit to do the demonstration flights that was going to allow the CAA give us a license to fly. And somehow the director of flight operations did not guide me properly. You know, I also probably missed quite a number of things. So we employed a bunch of pilots that we couldn't use. Can you imagine? And we were paying them. And pilot salaries are a premium. They are quite a premium. They don't get regular pay. They are scarce. You pay them really very well, millions. You know, so there with a bunch of like 20-something pilots, and they're no, these guys haven't flown. It is that, you know, you need people that are currently flying that particular aircraft right now. So yes, you may want to give some of that responsibility to director of flight operations. That why would he do this? He also did that because of a personal agenda. But also on my part, I didn't cross my T and dot my I's properly. Yes, I was new on the role and all of that, but it's still not an excuse. So yes, I was summoned and I was maybe not queried, but my boss, you know, just was not happy. A lot of money had gone down the drain, and I had to just really explain myself. Although he understood that it wasn't completely my fault, but I mean, I couldn't remove myself from that responsibility.
Okay.
So yes, that's an answer to that question.
Wow, thank you. I have another question here from someone. It reads, getting out of the shell. I mean, you made a comment around the need for you to get out of your shell and how you went about it. But someone would like to know, how easy was it for you to face the crowd and lead others? Do you feel overwhelmed?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
how easy was it? It was not easy. It wasn't easy. I was already used to my own world where I was a star. That's in my little earpiece, my office, my corner office, and the people that knew me and all of that. Now, this was me coming out to a different set of people, professionals, people that, that would look at what you're saying and what you're doing and, maybe also form opinions based on that. So the very first thing was I also needed to get myself informed. So you can't teach or you have to learn. They tell you to
Yeah.
come and if someone gives you a topic, you may not know everything off the top of your head. So one of the things that you need is to prepare yourself. Someone says that you master a stage only after you have adequately prepared for it. I think it's why that I've said that a couple of times. So you can't hog the limelight or want the limelight. Meanwhile, you are not prepared for it. Sorry, 1 minute. You're not prepared for it. You haven't done your due diligence. You have not studied. So that was the first thing. Get prepared and study. The next thing was also just to believe in myself and believe in myself, believe in what I could do, and also seek for feedback. So most times when I'm done with the session, I would ask one or two people how I did. And these people, I mean, GT, for example, will tell you where you got it right and where you didn't get it right. Like it will tell you, so that's also a feedback for you to now you work on that. So every day you sort of start to build your confidence, and it's not like I'm there yet. I'm also still learning. We are all a work in progress, really. All of us are.
Yeah. Thanks. So is your ability to receive and get feedback as well that's also helped you greatly?
Yes,
Because
yes,
yeah, you
yes,
mentioned GT. So beyond just reaching out to your mentor for feedback, even your peers, your professional colleagues as well. And I
yes,
also think feedback has to be 360 degrees. So even the people
yes,
that you work with, the people you supervise as well, how
yes,
often do we speak to them and ask for, their genuine feedback, creating that um, atmosphere where your team members can actually give you feedback. I remember recently I was under a lot of pressure, and I was one of my team members that I had been following up with to conclude in a particular task. And at some point, I was really upset. I sort of yelled at her a bit,
yeah.
and I dropped the phone and I picked it back. I said, "Sweetheart, sorry, did I just yell at you?" She said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to yell, but I'm under. There's
A
fire
lot
on
of
my bum.
pressure.
There's fire on my bum right now. That didn't come out right at that point. So I apologize. And so I think for us as leaders, the ability for us to take feedback, give, and sometimes you know yourself that you need to just make some amendments. You don't need anyone to
Oh
tell you.
yes.
Just
Oh
being
yes. Oh yes.
open to yourself and even give yourself feedback to say, okay, Lara, you haven't done well in this area, so you need
Very,
to
very
change
true.
it. That
Very, very
that
true.
authenticity that we bring on board to have the personal feedback session with ourselves also helps us to grow. Thank you, Bunmi, for sharing that. So I have
And
a
yeah,
question
and I
for
like,
yeah.
yeah, I like what you said that, immediately, that's
Oh
really
yeah,
good. And that's
yeah,
that's the humbling position that a leader needs to take. I find that a lot of us, and the most problems that we have in corporate Nigeria and in Nigeria as a whole is a lack of leadership.
yeah,
People, we believe that the leadership is about the power, it's about, no, that's not it. It's just that a responsibility has been given to you. And to whom much has been given to, even
yeah.
much
Much is
more is
expected.
expected. So for
Absolutely.
you calling her back and apologizing immediately was completely, absolutely fantastic. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Good,
I
good work.
remember our
I used to
expression
be a
was
terrible leader too once upon a
yeah,
time.
our
I used to
expression
yell
was
a
like,
lot.
oh wow. I mean when I apologized, the first thing she said was, oh wow. So yes,
She'll be
I'm
shocked.
I'm gonna she was shocked. She was
Yeah, she'll be
absolutely
shocked.
shocked.
She will be
But
shocked.
I think afterwards she felt really comfortable, and
Yeah.
so we had discussions so maybe on Friday or so, and I was asking her for feedback and said, and did she did give me that feedback that the action I took that day to call her immediately and apologize really, really changed her mindset about a lot of things,
Honestly, you
because I was
might
able
have
to
just
own
bought
it. Yes, I
Yes,
just
and she would
you
love you, you know,
yeah, she
she
said
will
yeah,
appreciate you so much.
she said that she wasn't expecting it, and for her it was the bomb, and she appreciated me for even calling to apologize to her. You can
Yeah,
imagine that.
we must learn to lead with love. That's one of my mantras. And
Absolutely, it
yeah,
does work.
I used to believe so much in tough love. Look, so I love people, but then I will call you out when you are not delivering. But then there's a way you also deliver your message. You know, someone used to say something. He told me once. He said that he doesn't even understand though. When you shout on someone, how do you go back and continue conversing with the person? Like, how? Don't you feel bad?
Okay, I have a question here from someone. It reads, if any, please share the most challenging and value-adding HR project you handled and completed successfully. This is a given for you to have started the HR department from less than
So
10
many.
manpower to over
Yeah.
2,000. For you, this is a given. But in which you faced a lot of resistance, even from functional heads. How did you galvanize the change management process and get buy-in from all your relevant stakeholders, key stakeholders?
Okay, so that's two questions in one, as I understand it. The first was the projects that I handled successfully, and there were so many of them. So
Challenging, the
because a lot of
challenging
things
ones
was
and the
done.
successful ones, yes.
Yes, a lot of things were done from the scratch. So I would say performance management was the one that was very challenging because we didn't start. You know, also I was left alone. I was that one. As I was building, I was also teaching. So even I was learning, and the support that I had on my team were people that I had to train. They were not even as experienced as I was. So it was a lot of things. So you can imagine that things like performance management just took a backseat. What we just needed was get the people in the places, let them start to work, and let us start to run. I think the first performance management cycle we did was in year 3. And I would say it was challenging because first people didn't understand what this was. People were like, oh, it's not us that are supposed to do the KPIs, oh, it's HR. There were the technical skills that was a little bit harder to set the KPIs. And I think the whole process that we decided to go with, I think we used the balance card method. I think it was just too complex for a first timer, you know. Sometimes you just keep things simple so that it's easy for you to churn and to understand the results that you get. You were even doing for over 1,000 employees performance management. We didn't have a human resources information system at that time. I think we got it at year 4. So it was just crazy and it was all over the place. So yes, we did it, but I always used to tell my team members that, guys, let's give ourselves like a 60% on this thing because I didn't think that we really did it well. It was quite challenging. But the ones that were successfully done, I think the ones that really excited me were, you know, setting up a new station. So for example, we want to roll out Port Harcourt, we want to roll out Dakar, we want to roll out Dubai, we want to roll out. So the work that HR needs to do to get a station up and running, because we were the ones that had the blueprint for startup, for any startup station, which incorporated various departments. Operations, what does operations need to do? What does engineering need to do? Finance, what are the various things that needed to do? We used to champion that project, you know, with the CEO. I found that very, very exciting. Maybe because when I joined, I was employee number 13, and then we were growing and growing and growing. With 2000, it used to give me so much joy and so much fulfillment that we were growing and we were being so successful. So that would be my answer to that question. The second question was what again? How did
you galvanize the change management process?
Yes.
To get the buy-in of the relevant
stakeholders. So yeah. Yes. So what I needed to do first was to build trust. You know, so this is HR. You know, HR is notorious now in most organizations. Like people don't trust HR. So, so you're already notorious generally as a team. Then you now have that their madam that is can just be somehow sometimes. You know, so I had to change, honestly. I had to change my leadership styles with my downlines. I had to change my upward management style as well. What I needed to do, bye-bye, darling. I love you. I miss you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Sorry, I'm sorry. Bye. Oh, wait, bye. Okay. So what I needed to do, power to the people. I'm sorry. I'm not at home. So we came somewhere for a function. So some of my guys
okay.
are doing, yeah. Okay, so what I needed to do was to first of all build trust. You know, I was like I could sometimes be like a loose cannon. Let me tell you a well-kept secret. I have once had an implosion in the boardroom. Do you know what an implosion means? An implosion means that you got angry in the boardroom. Is that even normal? Anyway, that's an aside. So I had to build trust. Beyond my competence, I had to show people that I genuinely cared, you know, about whatever it was that they cared about. And each HOD's care or each HOD's challenge was different for the purpose of their department. So I had to be interested in their pain. Okay, madam, sir, what are the issues? What are your pain points? So these are some of the questions that I would ask. If they call me, ask any question, I was always very available to them rather than giving them vague responses or those kind of closed out responses that HR can do sometimes. I just became, I think I just became more human. That's what I would say. You know, I became more human and really very real. And that way, it took some time. Maybe it took a year or 2 years. That way, I was able to build trust. I also, sometimes I read people say, oh, you're not at work to make friends. And I understand because they are at work for deliverables. But if you are able to make friends at work, remember, you may not be making friends at work does not mean that you have to have 10 friends. It might just be 1, 2, or 3 people. That also really helps me when I found a few genuine relationships, you know, in the workplace. There were not many, there were just 2 or 3. Those kind of relationships also helped me. So I would say building trust. So when someone trusts you, it's easy for you to get a buy-in from them because they already know that, oh, I'm safe with Bunmi. Bunmi is looking out for me. Bunmi, as the head of HR, is looking out for my interests, you know, as the HOD of this department. That's on the level of the HODs. For the C-suite, their thinking is that I trust my head of HR. She is continuously looking out for solutions to drive this organization forward. And once you've been able to build that trust, it becomes easy for you, you know, to thrive in this power room where you find yourself. Because it's very, very important for you to understand power structures, power play, and things that go on, you know, in high level, you know, when you're working with very high level people. So I would say trust. Yeah, trust first.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much, Bunmi. So my question for HR people who now understand the need for us to begin to build trust with our people and the need for us to change our ways from being that police type HR to a more human centered HR. What's the best way to go about it? Especially given the fact that for some HR people, they sort of have their label already based on how they've been perceived in the organization. But now we want to bring the human back to HR. How can HR go about it? How can we begin to build that trust? How can people begin to see us as genuinely taking interest in them?
Yeah. Lara, I'll tell you a simple story, and that story was from you. You know, I think I spoke with you maybe about a month ago or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
About a month ago or 3 weeks ago, and you told me something. You said to me that someone in your organization had been short paid by maybe 500 naira for maybe a year plus. And the channel that the person had been reporting to somehow was not getting traction. You know, because, you know, HR people are very busy people. So when you are coming your 500 naira problem, like they're like, we have other things to do. So they might not have prioritized that. But this 500 naira means so much to this security guy. It is small money, but imagine 500 naira times 12 or 1,000 naira times 12. That's 12K. That one will feed his family for like, you know, maybe a week, 2 weeks, something, I don't know, depending on their budget at home. So that meant a lot to him. And it was until he came to you, having experienced blocks in various places, it was until he came to you. Imagine you had to now leave your office and all your own strategic work to go and get involved in this 500 naira problem. And then it was resolved. I will just say it's in the little things. And I give that as a classic example. You know, Be what you say you are. Do what you say you do. If your job is to do A, B, C, D, do it. If your job is to ensure that everybody gets paid on time, please do it. Make sure that they get paid on time. Make sure that they don't, what happens with that is that you reduce complaints. When there are gaps in the delivery of your services, you leave people to think anything. They start to think anything. So you might even think that, is it HR that is even stealing our money? That man could have been thinking, is HR stealing his 500 naira? Somebody in HR pocketing his 500 naira. So because you have not explained, properly, or you have not closed out that gap adequately, you leave it open to interpretation. And that's how trust starts to gradually get eroded. That's number one. Number two is be open, be available. Don't be the HR that just sits in their office. Yes, I know that there's a lot of strategic work going on in your office. Sometimes do a floor walk. Have a schedule for you to do a floor walk. Let people know you. Let them see you. Let them be able to put a face to the head of HR. Like get into their world. I didn't used to go to the airport before because I was very busy. But after I started going to the airport, I started doing like every 2 weeks, I'll go to the airport, walk with them, I'll check in with them, play with them, sit down, gist with them when there was no flight. Just be involved. Let them see you as human. Let them not see you as someone so far off. Be approachable and have an open door. I know that it is hard for one human being to solve the problem of a 2,000 employee organization, for example, but that's why you also have a team. So every complaint does not have to get to you, but you can do different things. You can have a complete line on your team, whereby any HR service failure issues, people call in. You can have an email where people can write in and put their complaints. There's so many things that you can do to get to the people, to let the people know that you are there to solve their problems. So beyond your policies and your procedures and your everything else that we know on paper, let them feel you. I don't know how to say it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, Bunmi. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's a big question from your mentor in the house. YF says, please explain PQ. I want to know more about the concept.
I'm sure he has thought this. I'm sure he has thought this before. Okay, so how do you explain political quotient? I think it's your ability to understand. Like I said, there are other things that go on at work beyond Lara is the head of HR for food division, flour mills. Beyond YF is the head of HR for Globalcom. There's so much, there's a lot of unwritten, a lot of unspoken things going on. And so people become politically aware by doing different things. Some people actually have a way that they gather information. They do that actively for them to be aware of what's going on. Okay, so you might want to find out what is the winning party in this organization. Like, is there a clique that is there a clique or is there a person that I should not offend? It's just all those little things around, because sometimes the very influential person with the CEO may not even be the obvious person. So your ability to understand the politics in the organization is your ability to understand the way the power structure is beyond your organogram. So you have your organogram, but who else has organs here? Yes. Because if HR is not politically savvy, HR will fall flat on their faces, because these are the people that are going to say yes to your initiative. So call it kicking, I said kicker, sorry. Call it liquor. Some people say it's liquor, some people say it's whatever, I don't know. I have a job to do. Yeah, bootlicking. All I know is that I have a job to do, I have a deliverable. What I don't do and what I don't advise anyone to do is to practice negative politics. Negative politics is what you do in the workplace that invalidates somebody else's work, or bring somebody else down. If you are not somebody's line manager, I don't understand what your own business is. If you are somebody's line manager, it's only the line manager that has an opinion, on the person's deliverable, except we are doing like a 360-degree appraisal and somebody, HR has said, oh yeah, come and document your, interactions and how well you think this person is. So there's a lot of chatter that goes on in the workplace. And if it is not quickly curtailed, we are able to, quickly spoil other people's reputation, at work. Why are you smiling, Lara?
I read Toyin's comment. She said organogram is one, Oga's hair is another one.
Thank you. So who has Oga's ear? Who does Oga? Where I worked before, there was a particular madam. If she tells Oga that this thing is black, Oga will say yes. Please, why will I not go and befriend that madam Ntori Olong? So that's an example, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that response. I have a question here from one Lara Yeku. Please rename your ID, your real name. So, what's HR without the human? But sometimes workers tend to take advantage of this humanity. How does one find a balance and make sure staff members know not to cross the line, or staff members do not cross the line? I think that's what the person is trying to
say. No. I believe in being firm and fair. So as much as I'm human, it doesn't mean that I'm just on the floor for anybody to come and match me. No. At the end of the day, people still know that I am very firm and I don't really take bullshit. But so that's the thing. In being human doesn't mean that you are a doormat. No. What it means is that you are listening to people, you are available to people, and you're solving people's problems actively. So that's really what it means. You must draw the line. And HR people also need to find ways to distress, to also get taken care of, because there's so much on us. A lot of times when I see young people say, no, I want to practice HR, and I know that people like YF, and CDA, they have so many of these young HR professionals, that they are grooming and they are mentoring, along their career path. But sometimes I always just wonder, I just hope they really know that this HR is a very tough work. It just seems like a lot of people want to practice HR. Like, why? Like, if I had known, I would have just been with accounts and my figures, I would have been an IT guru and not having to deal with the complexities of managing people. Because it is very, very, very complex.
It is.
So HR people have to find ways to take care of themselves, because it is usually a lot of pressure that they are also managing. So one, draw that line, understand that there is a line between you and every employee. You being human, you have to be human to provide real life solutions to the problem that your people have, or to provide solutions to your organization, for your organization to become profitable. So, but being human doesn't mean that you will be taking advantage of. No, not at all. There are two different things. What's that word again? You must be assertive. You really, really must be assertive. People must know that you are confident. You must know what you're doing. Yes, you make mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. You must be well informed. Before you go into any meeting, prepare yourself properly. Before you give anybody any feedback, know what you're saying. It is when you are not confident or you are not very sure of yourself that people would want to ride roughshod over you.
Yeah, thanks. I think Tony just took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to say you have to be fair and you have to be firm as well. So that brings that balance into it, especially when you're dealing with people with equity as well. So Bunmi, so our time is almost up. We have got one last question. And this question is from the interactions that we had on the YF network around the current realities that we are faced with now, with having to work around the clock. We've worked from home now. You're practically online working from morning till evening and all of that. And you mentioned that you had an experience where you had to attend either board meeting or some leadership meeting way back at your former organization overnight.
Yeah.
And it was even really interesting because you were 7 months pregnant at that period. So I would like to hear how were you able to cope You know, how did you go about it? You know, for you to have been 7 months pregnant, your pregnancy must obviously have been obvious. So that you had people in that room that were framing ignorance to the fact that you had the baby bump obvious and you were kept to work or you were kept at that meeting overnight. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Tell us more about it.
Okay, so I was the number one guy that called this meeting and like who born you well not to show up like
Hey, Otirisha mi abi. Otirisha wo mi.
like so that's the first thing. Like you must show up with your go there with your baby bump. But nobody was prepared. We didn't know. He didn't give us heads up that we're going to sleep in that meeting, Lara. You're like, you know, like okay, so if we had known, we'll have prepared. Maybe I don't know, get a blanket, like a sweater or something. I don't know. Just prepare yourself mentally that you're going to be there. But I mean, I'd mentioned earlier that this was a startup organization that really there was a lot of work pressure. A lot of times, I found myself answering this question a couple of times in meetings. I still answered it yesterday. I was speaking with someone, and the person asked, "What was the culture of your organization?" And what I always say was, it was a very fast-paced environment. There was a lot of work going on. The organization grew faster than the number of people that we had at some point in time. So a lot of people were belabored with a lot of work. People were pressured. People were tense, and that affected behavior. Lara, I'm sure you can easily relate to
Yeah,
this.
I can.
So
100%.
yeah, so you have people cranky. You have people. We used to see very terrible emails. Like people would just angrily, write the way that they feel. So it was that kind of environment, and I think it was just because there was so much work, going on, and maybe there were one or two things that needed to change as well. I think for me, I sometimes try to be very practical, about, like you said, Shemotirisha Emini, I don't have another job. This job is very important to me. This job, you're laughing, this job was once on my prayer request. Now it has come, although there are some spikes attached to it. But we get comfortable with the spikes. And nobody was going to treat me any differently because I was pregnant, because I was the HOD, I was the head of it. I had to be in that meeting. Although maybe they could have brought the assistant or someone as well, but my boss used to work based on trust. Not just my boss, people work based on trust. So it's who you know, it's who you are used to, and you want to just see the person, let the person answer the questions that you have. And so I just had to be there. I know I slept off at some point in time. I remember him making fun of me. I could hear in my dreams when he said, "See, Bunmi has gone to Ikorodu. I'm from Ikorodu." So I slept off and I was like, "See, just leave us." So they left me to sleep. Like nobody else could sleep. But I think the little succor I got was that I was left to take a nap and go to Ikorodu. I think that, just like you have earlier said, there's a lot of resilience. You just have to be really strong in today's corporate world. And I'm not saying that is right, please. I am not saying that was right or that's something that should be practiced or encouraged, because people need to have a balanced life. People need to be able to rest. They said millionaires don't sleep for more than 8 hours. Okay, so maybe can we sleep for 4 or 5 hours at least? But in this particular case, it's almost like you are walking around the clock. So it is not advisable, but it is so demanding now in corporate Nigeria. I remember, Lara, when COVID came, when COVID started and you went away, you went quiet for like 1 or 2 weeks. And eventually when you came out, you were like, oh my God, you've been under a lot of pressure that you can't even explain, what you have gone through this particular few weeks. You were like this. And that is the reality of a lot of us right now. That is the reality of corporate Nigeria. There is a lot wrong with the labor laws. It's not really working. Nobody is monitoring anything. So people are getting away with a lot of things. It is not right, but it is where we find ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that anyone should be a slave. No. You should also let people also know what you can take and what you can't take. It's very important. And that's why it's good for you to also know your onions. So if you say, oh, my closing time is 5 or 6 o'clock, nobody is going to say, it's until you stay here till 10 o'clock before I judge you properly. They already know that, oh, Bunmi will leave at 6, as long as she delivers on her objectives. So I just had to cope. I mean, to answer that question, it was what I had then, and I just had to cope.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bunmi. I mean, the reasons why I love this concept of storytelling is when we tell our stories, we are very real. I mean, your experience is what you've gone through, and you never can tell who that experience is empowering. You know, the story you're sharing, you never can tell the comfort that is giving to other people who might also be going through what you had experienced in the past. Thank you so much, Bunmi. Our time is up. I just want to say we really do appreciate you. I mean, it just a lot of who are affirming to the things that you have said. Thank you so much, me, for being real. I mean, people are very real. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for being authentic. Thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for being open and honest as well with us this afternoon. I mean, I'm going to read the last paragraph of your story, which I find really empowering. I mean, if anyone if anyone feels down, just take this last paragraph and read it. It's going to inspire and empower you. So Bunmi says, my secret to success is simple. Never give up, no matter what. Never give up. Listen to people, be open to feedback, and learn from others in the profession, both from your peers and those that are ahead of you. To become a great HR professional, you need to work hard. I mean, hard work is a given. Love the people you work with, support the business, and get all the help you can get. But above all, be yourself. I mean, be your authentic self. Regardless of whatever you're going through, be aware, quite all right. But own, own it, and decide what you need to do to move forward. Bunmi, thank you so much for your time this evening. I mean, it's been an amazing storytelling, learning, sharing, and mentoring session. I mean, as you've been mentored by your mentors, like you mentioned, you've also poured yourself out to all of us this afternoon to equally share so we can learn and be mentored by your story. On that note, I would like to get what's your parting word for all the professionals that we have in the house this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Lara, once again for having me. It's great to meet everyone here, and I'm happy. I hope that you've been able to pick one or two things from my story. My parting words is just always believe in yourself. There's something very golden about you. There's something that you have that nobody else has. There's something about that. There's something about Lara that nobody else can ever replicate. There's something about Taiwo, Isioma, Tayo, every single one of us. There's something about you that nobody else has. When the world tells you otherwise, because yes, the world is going to feed you with some bullshit sometimes, depending on where you find yourself. The world will sometimes tell you you're not good enough, you're not brilliant enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not whatever enough. Take some of the, yes, I like to demystify the glamour in HR, Tori. That is my calling, to demystify everything, make it stupidly simple. Forget the wigs and everything and the eyebrow. And the lipstick. So what was I saying? I was saying that, yes. So when you get that kind of feedback from the environment, you can look at yourself and see if there are any areas that you need to work on and improve. But don't ever allow anyone make you feel less than you are. I am saying this because this happened to me as well. As hard as I worked and as much as I gave myself, sometimes it still was not good enough. I was reading something somewhere, and it said that you could be the best peach in the world. You could be the best wine in the world, and somebody still will not like wine. You can't please everyone. You can't really please everyone. Some people will just not like you. Some people will still say that there's something not good enough about yourself. So stick to improve yourself. Believe in you, the value that you bring to the table, continuously improve in yourself. And I mean, just be yourself, be yourself. Don't put yourself under so much pressure. Love yourself. You can't love anyone if you don't love yourself. And get rid of the negative thinking in your head. There's a lot of negative, we all do these things. It happens to me too. Yeah. So as much as possible, be conscious of the kind of thoughts you're thinking, make sure that they are positive thoughts, because it's only a positive mind that can be free, or that can impact the world. So I'll just say be yourself, really, and believe in yourself, because we need you. You have to be that way to be able to contribute to the world. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed myself today here, Lara. It's like it was like being at home. Like I feel so relaxed and
No point, nothing. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, honestly.
Thank you. On that note, I would like everyone to please turn off your mic or turn on your mic and just say thank you to Bunmi for pouring of herself to us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bunmi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bunmi. Very informative, very exciting, very engaging.
Thank you, Bunmi.
Thank you, Lara.
Thank
you so
much.
much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So, thank you. On that note, thank you, everyone. On that note, we bring today's session to an end. Unfortunately, it's going to be the last session for this year. We resume my HR life in January 2021.
Wow.
Oh.
HR Story is going on a 1 month break, 1 month holiday, vacation. Then we resume in January 2021. On that note, thank you so much, everyone. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, stay handsome, and like Bunmi said, you are your unique self. You are good enough. You know, you are here for a purpose, and just go and live your best life. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Coach. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow, interesting.